Welcome to my action research proposal. For my first professional experience, I taught at a primary school located in southwestern Sydney. The school is recorded by the New South Wales Government as having significantly low socio-economic disadvantage and therefore receives Resource Allocation Model Equity funding to support students from low SES families, Aboriginal backgrounds, EALD students, and students receiving low-level adjustments to support learning. The school has an enrolment of 715 students, including 43 Aboriginal students and a diverse population of 43 different nationalities. 24% of students are new arrivals to Australia or are from refugee backgrounds. The school's vision statement in their annual report focuses on providing the highest quality education to improve student performance across a well-connected community to foster lifelong learners. The school's strategic directions state their goals to improve student growth and attainment through effective teaching and assessment strategies and data analysis to inform differentiated classroom practice. Engagement and learning culture underpinned by high expectations, meaningful challenges, and innovative practices that cater to individual learning needs to develop autonomous learners. And inclusivity and belonging through community building initiatives to ensure all members feel valued and connected as informed partners in improving student learning and well-being. The school's strengths include ensuring students are active learners who establish learning goals and can articulate their significance, extensive development of teacher professional knowledge, practice and engagement measured against the national standards for teachers, and finally, effective partnerships with students, parents and the wider community to lead quality education and welfare programs. My Year 3 class was comprised of 28 students, 15 girls and 13 boys. 92% of students spoke another language other than English at home, and 2 students are of Aboriginal descent. Students are supported through differentiated work activities and EALD and learning support teams. The classroom dynamic borrowed from Munns and Sawyer's concept of the insider classroom, which focused on encouraging active and autonomous learning. The classroom culture reinforced G's idea of fostering belonging, ownership of learning, and active participation within a socially meaningful group. The learning intentions and success criteria were displayed on the interactive whiteboard at the beginning of each lesson to ensure each student understood their goals and how to be successful. The table structure was flexible, allowing students to effectively work in groups and move around the classroom to receive extra support or work with peers. The school operated using the Dojo Points reward system to encourage active learning and positive behaviours. The range of student learning abilities and levels across the class varied extensively, which required significant differentiation across lessons. Most students showed a sound understanding of key literacy concepts, with 2 students working above level and 4 students requiring intensive support. In terms of literacy skills, students generally excelled in making connections between the text and their own experiences and understandings. Students showed a sound understanding of visualizing and questioning, as well as predicting and inferring to clarify meaning and deepen their understanding. However, students required support when monitoring and summarizing, often struggling to reflect on and assess or communicate their understandings of the text. When faced with hurdles or barriers to comprehending a text, students were challenged by decoding, making sense of, or articulating the main message of what was being read. Therefore, key learning issues that were present included low knowledge retention levels, which required the recall of prior knowledge at the beginning of each lesson. Students showed little evidence of problem-solving skills or independent risk-taking, and it was often difficult to gauge student engagement in most learning experiences. Therefore, my action research will focus on improving differentiation of the curriculum and implementing individualized assessment for learning opportunities. This will hopefully see an improvement in student self-regulation and relational agency. This leads me to my action research question. How can I facilitate effective student engagement through personalised learning? By implementing the engaging 21st century pedagogical practice of personalised learning, I aim to strengthen my teaching practice to improve student motivation, engagement and learning outcomes through a student-centred approach. Personalised learning, as Hargreaves asserts, is the necessary mass customisation of education which privileges student choice, engagement, and independent control over and responsibility for their own learning. This involves setting high expectations to improve student self-confidence and motivation through high-quality teaching. Teachers must shape their lessons around different learning styles, needs, and interests of each student through effective differentiation of the curriculum to address the diversity of student needs and capabilities, as stated by Prain et al. Extensive assessment for learning and using student data to plan for future progression are key aspects of personalised learning, leading to improved student outcomes. This can be achieved through higher order questioning, self and peer assessment, teacher feedback, or specific criteria to identify clear targets for improvement. Seber and Brown note that this form of personalised learning resulted in student appreciation of the time given to resolve barriers to learning and reported a greater emphasis on deeper understanding and identifying future goals. Paulden argues that personalised learning is an effective solution to the challenge of motivating and supporting students in the 21st century to remedy the traditional one-size-fits-all transmission model of education, which functions to repeat the cycle of continuous student disengagement. I will strive to embed this notion in my teaching to focus on the aptitudes and interests of my students to ensure each student achieves their highest potential. Please refer to the following slides for the implementation of multi-engaging personalised learning experiences. The ME framework proposed by Munns and Sawyer in 2013 will be utilised through this research to gauge student engagement. Within this classroom context, motivation is low with limited student self-efficacy or confidence, resulting in minimal student engagement. High cognitive learning experiences are attempted through inquiry-based learning, problem-solving through collaboration, and persistent questioning to encourage deeper understanding. High effective engagement is facilitated through hands-on activities and stimulated learning related to real-life situations. Teachers strive to create high operative lessons through critical thinking and using reasoning and prior knowledge to empower learners. In terms of motivation, students are encouraged to make informed decisions, have a voice, and exercise control and curriculum choice. This develops student self-regulation, which encourages effort and confidence, assisting learners to persevere and work towards attaining one's personal goals. In terms of little e engagement, students are provided with learning opportunities that allow enrichment and creativity. And in terms of big E engagement, the value and relevance of the lessons are explained with links to real-life contexts to encourage lifelong learning. Please refer to the slide to reveal the engaging messages evident in these learning experiences. To measure and document student achievement and engagement levels, I will be collecting and analysing data in each learning experience to capture both the processes and outcomes of student learning. When conducting research, it is important to be continually sensitive to ethical considerations, ensuring informed consent and confidentiality is maintained. At the end of each learning experience, work samples will be collected for data analysis. The checklist created by each group will be uploaded to Google Classroom as a means of formative assessment. I will also collect each group's drafted comic strip at the end of the lesson for analysis of progress. At the end of the second learning experience, I will collect student workbooks with the 2 stars and a wish template to analyse student understanding of peer feedback. I will collect each group's personalised goals for improvement at the end of learning experience 3, and the published comic strip will be recorded as the final collective tangible product. Depending on students' choice of presentation, data will be collected differently. I will record role plays, photos will be taken of the A3 poster designs, and digitally published works will be uploaded. All final products will be uploaded to Class Dojo and annotated against criteria. My observational schedule will be used during group work in each learning experience and will identify markers of student engagement and achievement. I will observe each group for 5 minutes each. Taking on Burton and Bartlett's advice, I plan to unobtrusively observe lessons whilst giving support to pupils in a semi-structured manner. My observational schedule will consist of 3 main focuses: markers of engagement measured against the ME framework, markers of achievement, and teacher actions or further considerations to achieve student improvement. In collecting data on student self-reflection, I plan to go beyond evaluative questions probing feelings, thoughts, and actions, measured against the ME framework to gain a holistic view of student engagement. By referring to the real framework proposed by Munns and Woodward, I plan to research and document student achievement, collaboration, engagement, and ability to overcome challenges. Students will record their answers on their iPads at the end of each lesson. As presented on the slide, each data type collected has its own affordances and limitations. While each data type has its own affordances and limitations, more effective analysis of the data types can be gained by combining the information gathered from the work samples, observations, and student reflections. This data can then be used to document changes in engagement levels. For example, this will provide information not only on the products of learning, but also on the processes of student thinking while participating in the learning experiences. Furthermore, the use of multiple data types will function to eliminate subjectivities by offering different perspectives. While I have drawn my own conclusions and judgments based on student work samples and personal observations, combining this data with student self-reflections empowers them to be active, self-directed learners. By allowing students to evaluate their own learning, I am, in turn, provided with direct feedback on my pedagogical practices, which thereby elicits my own self-evaluation of my teaching. The analysis of data will be achieved by using the ME framework to measure markers of engagement and relevant syllabus outcomes to measure markers of achievement. I will use observational notes, student reflections, and annotated work samples to form the basis of my analysis. To measure and document changes in student engagement, I have adapted Munns and Sawyer's Observation and Reflection Guide to gather data about classroom messages and individual support strategies. While each student has a different way of expressing engagement or disengagement, data analysis may be difficult to accurately record and subjective conclusions may need to be drawn. However, by categorizing the data into high cognitive, effective, and operative engagement, adaptive motivational strategies and engaging messages can be documented to determine effective teacher pedagogies. As a self-reflective practitioner, continuous action research and adaptations to my teaching practices should be a systematic, conscious part of my professional development. From my study, I hope to develop teacher professional knowledge and action research competencies, such as an increased awareness, accountability, and self-criticality. Standard 1.2. Conducting continuous action research will allow me to gather data to refine my programs and turn it into evidence to improve my practices, thereby fulfilling Standard 3.6. This capacity to interpret student assessment data to evaluate student learning and modify teaching practice effectively adheres to Standard 5.4. I will strive to adopt a researcherly disposition as stated by Lingard and Renshaw to aid me in identifying barriers to learning and devise action research plans to overcome these challenges. McNiff suggests that action research can be enhanced through new knowledge that can be generated through dialogue. By sharing and valuing the advice of my colleagues, I am adhering to Standard 6.3 and thereby broadening my professional learning. By critically reflecting on my current practices and implementing adapted actions, student achievement and engagement in English will be elevated. These modifications should be individualized to target specific learner needs. This can be achieved through the implementation of personalized learning, which calls for the differentiation of all learning experiences, Standard 1.5, and frequent meaningful assessment for learning, Standard 5.1. I anticipate that the consistent research of my own pedagogy will allow me to trial a range of different teaching strategies, as reflected in Standard 3.3, to improve student engagement and achievement. I will strive to improve student participation, Standard 4.1, and establish challenging and individualized learning goals for all students, Standard 3.1. This self-reflective practice of action research holds significant value for my development and progress as a teacher researcher that I hope to implement to improve my own teaching practices.